Hey folks, what's going on? This is Shadow Stars bringing you another video. In today's video, I'm going to be covering two topics. The first topic is going to be talking about the news about how AMC CEO Adam Aron is asking for a salary freeze for next year. The second news is going to be talking about how the S&P cut AMC's credit rating to double C on the distressed exchange plan. So without further ado, let's go into this. This whole portion of asking the salary freeze, in part to me, I get the vibes of a PR stunt. Why? Because let's look back at the history of AMC. Just a couple of years ago, how did the executives plan? How did they manage their stocks? Their common stocks, their RSUs, their PSUs. How are they using them? And what was the history in the company's performance? How the company performed, and how did the executives, the C-suits, and the directors and so forth, how did they react? What are they doing to their shares? Now this filing from the SEC. Oh, website. Sorry about the hold. This is from a 14A filing. So this is for the shareholders meeting. This is the shareholders material for 2021. Now think about this. They suspended the stock ownership guidelines that were applicable to the company's NEOs, named executive officers. So, your Adam Aron, your Sean Goodman, your Craig Ramsey, John McDonald, Elizabeth Frank, Stephen Colanero, all these folks, they were able to sell whatever amount of shares basically they wanted to. And this was all, as I mentioned, part of this proxy statement. This is all information that you received if you're an AMC shareholder. This was for the shareholders meeting on May 4th, 2021. Now, this is something that I'm working to build a separate video on because this stuff really needs to be dug into, because what I'm doing is I'm compiling, hey, let's look at their compensation. How did the C-level suits? What were they getting paid? How are they getting paid? Because I want to know, hey, if we pull up any website, we look at the insider trades, not that they're trading illegally, but the trading that these insiders do, what are they doing? Are they buying shares back into the company? Are they selling them? What are they doing? We can see that AMC, none of their insiders for the past, 2-3 years, none of them have been buying any stock. They've been giving it away. They've been selling it. And obviously, they've been executing options. And obviously, they've received a lot of, and tons, millions and millions of shares through the EIP program. So this is something that probably going to take me a couple days, depending on work. Odd reason, work was really busy today. Hopefully I can find some more time in the next couple days so I can get this video out as soon as I can. But nonetheless, previously they had ownership guidelines for their NEOs. So the president and CEO had to keep 3 times his base salary. The other NEOs 2 times their base salary, but they suspended that 2021 because if you look at, hey, I've been pulling the Form 4 filings for all these folks, so SVPs, the EVP, Adam Aron, etc. Look at what they're doing with their shares. How many shares are they holding on to? This is as of their most recent filing. This is not counting their the non-vested shares right now. So this is the current shares that they have. But look, besides their chief HR officer, the SVP, Carla, 147,000. Look at their chief accounting officer, Chris Cox, 1,250 shares. General counsel and secretary, Kevin Connor, 4,051 shares. Well, we know Stephen Colanero, he retired. Craig Ramsey, retired. John McDonald, U.S. EVP of U.S. Operations, 1,463. Mark McDonald, he retired. Elizabeth Frank, CCO, WWP, EVP, 4,168. Adam Aaron, oh, he likes to brag. Oh, I have millions of shares. I'm one of the largest shareholders of AMC. Well, yeah, you count all those vested those shares that are coming to you. But right now, 793,000. Sean Goodman, your new CFO, 4,420. Look at how come 2021, they basically depleted. They sold every single share that they had. Kevin Connor went down to 1 share. Stephen Colanero, 0 shares. Sean Goodman, your CFO, 0 shares. This to me shows that, hey, you know what? They don't really trust in the company. They're selling the shares as soon as they can. The whole PR I call it a PR stunt when Adam Aaron they imposed those new restrictions. Was it what? Was it 6 times or 8 times? I have it in one of my files. But they had what 6 or 8 times the CEO, and then what the CFO and others like 4 times the annual salary. And look at all the other compensation that they're getting. Look at the AIP, not to confuse it with the EIP, Annual Incentive Program. Look at all the extra compensation they're getting. 2020, 2021. Look at the special incentive bonuses they were given. So look at the total compensation these folks are getting year after year. The company was struggling. You mentioned that, oh, hey, COVID, big hit to us. During those times, though, you had no problem giving yourselves all these bonuses, all this money, all these raises. But now you're coming out and saying, oh, yeah, you know what? Let's do a salary freeze 2023. So what are you going to do? Are you going to change your EIP, your equity incentive plan? Are you going to change how the compensation structure works now? What are you going to do? It doesn't matter jack diddly squat if, hey, you know what? Your annual base salaries, we're just going to freeze them. We're not going to give you any increases. That doesn't mean squat because you're paying up the wazoo with all those shares that you're giving to them, all those bonuses, all those incentives, those incentive bonuses. Absolutely ridiculous. So this is not a finished product. This is something that I'm still working through. From this table, what I want to include is basically from the peak. I want to do a timeline basically of each person, how many shares that they received, especially basically going from 2021 onwards and showing, hey, if I could do it, probably a line graph basically, or maybe a bar chart. Regardless, I'll figure it out when I look through the data. We'll basically show, hey, how many shares did they have, and what was the progress of that? What's the timeline of the shares? We know that, hey, they're selling it more and more. And also, I want to be give full context. Look at the previous years of, hey, how much was their direct their total compensation? If their base salary is not changing, then how many shares are they getting? It's really important to understand, hey, the compensation structure for them. So is there any real change? yes, we see the big shift in the number of shares and how they're selling it all. Is that because, hey, their compensation was purely in shares, so they had to have sold it for it to make sense for their total compensation wise? Or is it because, like I said, they really don't have much faith in the company? That's one thing I wanted to cover. So the next topic is this. S&P cuts AMC's credit to double C. Now, this is not the first time AMC had their credit rating cut down to double C. For example, they had this back in December of 2020. They cut their rating to double C because of, hey, another private debt swap. Because on that, they secured a commitment from Mudrick Capital for a $100 million first lien secured loan. And the reason why, they considered this a distressed transaction, and if closed, tantamount to a default because Mudrick would be receiving less than originally promised. Similarly, in this situation, what did they say? We view the announced debt for equity exchange as distressed and tantamount to default. We believe the second lien note holder will receive less than originally promised since they are subordinating secured debt for equity. So that's some interesting news. And one other point I want to make in regards to this whole the debt swap, debt exchange. So remember that how they would receive 91 plus million for that 100 mil exchange in debt, that second lien note. And we know that, hey, with them purchasing all those shares of APE, they're injecting 110 million, right? 110 million. And we know that, hey, they got that 100 mil exchange. We know that, hey, AMC bonds, they're trading between 20 to 35% value. So yeah, they own 100 million of it, but no one's buying it. That the value of that loan is really 20 to 35%. So let's say it's worth 35%. So it's worth really 35 million, right? And to make this easier, 110 million. They spent, so Antara Capital, they spent 110 million buying APE. And then basically they exchanged that value, $35 million worth of what was initially a $100 million lien note, right? So what is that? 110 million plus 35 million. 145 million, right? All in all, how many shares of APE did they get? They got 257.6 million shares of APE. What's the price of APE now? Or to make calculations simple, let's say each APE going to be worth minimum $1. That means $257 million. They spent $145 million. They're getting $257 million in return. That is a brilliant move by Antara. Whoever made this deal, whoever did this deal, I wonder if they're going to get a big fat bonus. Because if your bond, your lien, if that's trading for 20 to 30 cents on the dollar, and you're able to turn that into a $145 million investment into $257 million, you made bank. What is that? 257 minus 145. $112 million. Even in the worst case, that $100 million plus whatever the interest rate was on, the percentage rate was on that, I think I read it was like 10% and it was a 2026 loan, I think. Nonetheless, they could have been sitting on a massive loss because it was trading for so cheap. But guess what? They were able to flip that into profit. And if Ape is instead of $1, $2, $514. That's massive bank. That's $369 million. Far more than they would have made just on interest. So that's a great deal for Antara. But flip side, does that mean that's really good for AMC though? You sold that many shares, 257.6 million shares of Ape to Antara Capital. As I said, let's do a quick calculation here. You sold what? 18% of your company. Gave 18% of your company for what? $145 million. Does that make sense? When I do this type of calculation for your total market cap for your company, we're $3.3 billion. But with $145 million, you're able to get 18% of the company. You sold 18% of your company for $145 million. When the market cap is over $3 billion. Does that make sense? Is that a really good deal for AMC? And that's why an article like this kind of makes sense. This deal, great for Antara, but it doesn't look that great for AMC. And I'll keep on bringing back financials to it. Yes, it helps give them more money in their war chest. But guess what? You've just signed away a massive portion of your company away. That wasn't very smart in my opinion. But hey, if that's the only deal you can get right now, I guess you have to take it because hey, you need money to survive. And I'll keep bringing this up. I haven't seen if the number's updated yet. But look, domestic box office, it's doing terrible. It is far behind. You can spin it however the hell you want about, oh hey, look, Avatar reached over 1 billion worldwide. That doesn't help you when your concentration of theaters, your concentration of revenue is domestic. I'm going to flesh this page out a lot more too, because this is just based on domestic data. But this is some of the calculations I've done. Q1, Q2, Q3, domestic box office gross. What's their admissions? Look at, hey, revenue percentage of box office gross. They're in that 20%, low 20% range. And based on their admissions minus their film exhibition costs, what's their margin? What's their profit out of the box office gross then? 10%. Q3, they had $417.6 million in admissions revenue domestically. Film exhibition cost was $212 million. Profit of $205.6 million. But the percentage of that, of the total box office gross, 10.69%. They're not making money as it's been clearly stated. The company's not making money off of tickets. It's making it off of food and beverage. That's where your focus needs to be. You need to find additional sources of revenue and be able to increase this margin. So that's about it. There were a couple other things I wanted to do, but I've been experiencing some issues with Twitter. I'm unable to log into my account, and I'm not going to waste time spending extra time rather digging into some of the Twitter accounts I wanted to and some of the things I wanted to address. But these are two major points I want to talk about today, which was the whole let's bring some more context in regards to the salary freeze, and let's bring some context into the whole Antara Capital deal, along with the news about, hey, the credit rating that's been decreased. So hope you like my videos. I'd really appreciate it if you guys can hit the subscribe, hit the like. Please keep it up with the comments. If you got questions, leave them down below. I'd love to answer them. Always need comments, need critiques, so I know how to better improve, how to better tailor the information for you guys. And if anything's unclear, comments will let me know of how I can present it, what details are missing, and so forth, whatnot. But really, I just want to combat all this absolute nonsense, all this misinformation and garbage that a lot of these AMC grifters and frauds are pushing out. I feel that it's terribly wrong that these grifters, they're spreading all this misinformation to folks that don't know better, that take these grifters' videos and whatever those statements as truth, and they make stupid choices on it. And you know what? These grifters, they're benefiting off of that. They're making money off of that. I see that as being completely wrong. So I'm doing my part to kind of help combat some of that stuff. I want to present the whole case. I want to call out bullshit. I want to call out misinformation. Hope you folks enjoy the content. Until the next video, folks. Take care. Shadow Stars out.